Hi everyone, welcome to this session of Travel Tech Asia Pacific. Thank you for joining us today. We have some of our esteemed panelists here with us. So before introducing them, I would just give a short introduction on what Travel Tech is for the benefit of those who do not know about this event. So Travel Tech has been launched in 2020 amidst the ongoing global pandemic to help the travel and hospitality industry come together to find the light at the end of the tunnel. It is a platform where hotels, OTAs, airlines can come and discuss technology and how it can be leveraged to speed up the travel recovery worldwide. So through a series of educational webinars, Travel Tech aims to bring together regional and global players to discuss evolving trends, changing guest expectations, and new ways for travel and businesses to strategize and cope up with the market dynamics. We started this series back in July this year with Latin America, where we saw pretty good success. The second series in this series is the Asia Pacific one, which is currently happening this week, and this will be followed by more sessions in Europe, Middle East, North Africa, North America over the next few months, thus covering the entire spectrum across the globe. So without much ado, let me introduce our panelists today. Travel Tech actually was founded by the CEO of HS Latam, Vinicius Giraldo. He's unfortunately not with us here today on this session. So I just wanted to mention about him, and it's his brainchild that we are all here today and being a part of this panel. So today's speakers, I'll invite first of all Mr. Neil James, who's COO Review Pro. Neil, please go ahead and introduce yourself and the company.
Great, thank you, Neha. So as Neha said, my name is Neil James. I'm the COO of Review Pro. We're based in Barcelona. And Review Pro was founded back in 2009 with the intention of helping hotels improve the guest experience. We started off with online reputation tools in order to be able to help hotels manage their reputation, understand what guests are saying about them, and through sentiment analysis be able to analyze the data and obviously make service and product improvements within the hotels. We then, over that time, branched into various other areas. So we also do guest surveys, which is pre, during, and post-stay for hotels in order to make sure that they're able to expand on that feedback and understand information on the guest journey. And also we have now gone into the AI area with messaging and chatbot, which I'll talk about a little bit later on. Review Pro is part of the Shiji group, and Shiji provide hospitality solutions around the globe for thousands and thousands of hotels. And yeah, really excited to be part of this event, and thank you all for inviting me.
Thank you so much, Neil. Thank you so much, and you're very welcome. Thank you for making it here today. Next on the panel is Mr. Nicholas Chavners, Head of Sales at Check-in. Nicholas, please, you're welcome, and please introduce yourself in the company.
Yes, hello, Neha. Thank you for introduction. So I'm Nicholas from Check-in, so taking care of sales and partnership. And Check-in is a solution that we have developed to help hospitality industry in order to capture and validate the guest identity before and during arrival. So the idea was to automatize and digitalize all the steps of the check-in in order to give like a frictionless and contactless experience. So we have started about 3 years ago. We have now about 15,000 customers. We are based in Europe, and we are growing all over the world. So yeah, very excited to be part of that panel. I think this is great what you're doing in order to help hoteliers after that very hard like step that we just all have lived, and maybe it's not over. We hope, we cross fingers that it's not over, but very happy to be here and to share some insights around operational and things like that. So thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Nicholas. Those were some very impressive numbers, 3 years and 15,000 customers. That speaks a lot about your products, your leadership, the thought. So really welcome. We're really glad to have you here. Next up on the panel today is Mr. Bernard Quek. He's the CEO of Global Hospitality Solutions based in Singapore. Bernard, please, you're welcome and kindly introduce yourself.
Thank you for the introduction, Neha. Yeah, very happy to join all of you here today. A brief introduction. So, as Neha said, my name is Bernard Quack, CEO founder of Global Hospitality Solutions. So, GH has been around for now, 18 years, I think. So, from 2002, from a young boy, set up a company. I'm an old man now. Okay, but anyway, we are in the space of hospitality, sales, marketing, and distribution tech. So, we do, in our traditional business, we do CRM or loyalty marketing. We do booking platform. The latest addition is we do a bunch of conversational commerce, things that you transact over Messenger, transact over WeChat, combining everything together into a new platform, right? So our job is to help hotel to grow database, grow repeat business, drive more direct. Yeah. So that's what we do all these years. Yeah. So happy to share this more information with you guys during this session. Thank you.
Great, great. Thank you, Bernard. You are still a young boy. The only difference is I think you're an experienced young boy now. So welcome to the panel. We are happy to have you here. And our final speaker today is Mr. Thomas Konambi, who's the CEO and co-founder at Premind. Thomas, please go ahead, introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Thomas Konambi. I'm the CEO and founder of Premind. We are based in Stockholm, Barcelona, and Singapore. And Premind is a B2B subscription-based software solution focused on elevating customer experience to the next level for the most important VIPs in retail, hospitality, and travel. We're aiming to connect the brand and the individual in the most intimate ways, and we have currently customers in all over Asia, Europe, and Africa.
Great, great, lovely. Thank you so much, Thomas, and you're welcome as well. So with these introductions, we will straight away dive into our discussion today. As you all know, the topic for today's session is automation versus human touch. With the current pandemic, how automation has become even more and more important. And we are going to discuss the impact that this would have on operations and customer experience. So my first question today is for Mr. Neil James. Neil, your question is, hospitality has always been about providing the best human touch service to guests. As we move to adopt technology faster than ever before in our industry, do you not believe that this will impact the overall guest experience?
Okay, thank you, Neha. So do I think it will impact the overall guest experience? Well, yeah, I do. But I actually think it's going to impact the guest experience positively. Yeah, if you think about it, people have been used to checking in online and pre-ordering their meals when it comes to airlines for a long time now, right? So why not hotels? I mean, you think about the last time maybe that you stayed at a hotel. When was the last time that you heard a guest saying on arrival to the hotel, "Oh, great, I need to queue for 20 minutes in order to be able to check in," right? Don't do it. When we fly, the most of us try to fly without having to check any baggage so that we can check in online, get onto the plane, and off you go. And we need to accept in the hospitality and hotel industry that technology now can be used to help improve that guest experience, as long as you deploy the correct technology at the various stages of that guest journey, right? So I've stayed at many hotels in my time, and I always remember one of my personal experiences being my first day at a tech hotel. Yeah. And in this hotel, I was able to change the lighting in my room, control the TV, select blockbuster movies on demand, close the blinds in my room, arrange a wake-up call, all from an app provided through a tablet that was in my room. Now, I never, ever watch TV when I go into a hotel room. But at this point, the mere fact that it was blockbuster movies on demand, on a large screen, controlled through a tablet, that was me, all boxes checked, and then when I checked out the day after, my feeling was, what a great experience, and it's something that I'm sharing with you today, maybe 6 or 7 years later. So the correct technology deployed can improve efficiency at the hotels and ensure that the hotel teams are not needing to carry out repetitive tasks, but also be able to provide service to those guests that really have a specific query or that require more skilled support. If you deploy a technology that can remove these repetitive tasks while providing the guest with the information that they require, the service that the team at the hotel will provide will be so much better. Less queues, better service, more efficiency. Yeah, and the queries are going to get dealt with much quicker for the guests. So as we've gone through, obviously, this really difficult period over the past 9 months, we've seen that hotels are starting to deploy these important technologies like online check-in, keyless technology. You know, and when I think about what I would be doing and when I travel with my family going forward, information is going to drive that guest journey, and that information is, what are people saying about that property right now? What is that hotel doing in order to be able to keep me and my family safe? So this is an opportunity to actually use technology also to be more competitive, right? To make sure that you're using that technology to move with the trend, move with the demand, and make sure that realistically you're providing a great experience to your guests. And this will obviously then help hoteliers to be more responsive, more efficient, and actually provide a great guest service, because they're not seeing a huge queue in front of them, because people can now find all the information they need online, and they just need to be able to actually check in and check out those guests rather than see a queue of people asking what time is check-in, what time does the pool open, and where's breakfast, right? So our service then becomes so much better.
Absolutely, absolutely agree with you on that, Neil. Thomas, Bernard, Nicholas, anything further you would want to add on to what Neil just shared? Any further opinion on this topic? No? All right. So I'll move on to my next question in that case. And my next question is for Bernard. Bernard, do you think automation and AI will replace humans at hotels? Bernard? Okay, I think there's some technology problem, which is very common. We talk technology and then these things also happen. So yeah, he's back now. Bernard, can you hear us?
Just to jump back on what Neil said, I think is really true what you say. There's a lot of guest experience to get from all that automatization. I'm really like 100% agree on what you just say. But yeah, like, and your tool is pretty good to also help tracking that all those review and push those properties to get a better revenue from that. And I think especially in that panel, we'll all link together from like we're in different tools, but we're all linked together, and that is that addition of tool that helps a lot hoteliers.
Thank you, Nicholas. Absolutely. Bernard, are you able to speak? I think there's some signal issues at his end. Okay, what we'll do is we'll come back to Bernard while this gets sorted. Nicholas, meanwhile, I would, because you just mentioned, about what Neil said, I would want to put my next question to you. So after this pandemic, do you think that the check-in process would still be the same? And how do you see the digitalization helping to create a better guest experience?
So yeah, I'm going to go back into what Neil said. Like airlines, they have started like all the digitalization and online check-in like 20 years ago. Like imagine 20 years ago, like it was not even like iPhone and things like that. So it was like much more complicated for them to educate the people, and it took them a while until people get really into that process and use those online check-in. So we shouldn't be like worried, or we shouldn't have fear on the hospitality industry about that adoption of online check-in, because people are already doing it for planes. So I think for hotel it shouldn't be a big issue. Like I think that today with the pandemic, everybody is talking about contactless process. So we don't have to stay too long time with people. So we are not infected. So I think this is a good way also to secure the guest and the employee, because of course without employee your property will have some issue to be run. So yeah, that's something that is definitely going, I think, to happen. But I think there's some good things around that also, around marketing, as Neil was explaining, like stopping the bureaucracy, accelerating the check-in time will definitely increase the guest experience, re-centralize the guests into the process. That means that when the guests arrive after 15 hours of plane, like I'm not sure he wants to stay another 20 minutes talking to people he doesn't know, just to give his passports and say, oh, okay, oh, you did a mistake on my name. I mean, like this is so archaic that now people want to do it in the cab when they have like some times to waste. Just take a picture of their passports, automatizing all that process that is very like that has no sense. But there are other like things that are very important, like when you are a property and sometimes you don't have the right information from the booking. Like when you receive a booking from an OTA, you mainly have the right email, you mainly have the right name, the right phone number. So the idea also is to have a better and accurate information, so you can run some marketing. You own your customer in that case. So you can try like to send them an email for their birthday to make them come back. You also have some obligation around legal compliance. I'm thinking about Thailand or other country like that, that every time you have a guest that enter in the property, you need to send them those information to the police. You need to create some entry form, and those like this is some bureaucratic thing that properties have the obligation to do, to comply. So this is also a way to get the right information for the property to run their business in a more effective way.
Yep. So I think the main point here was the balance. So of course, automation is important, but then having your employees who know how to use these apps, make sure that they're reading what the guests are saying on these apps or what they're doing, just to make sure that they can offer a better guest experience at the end of the day. And of course, tying all of this with marketing, because end of the day, we want to have repeat customers. I mean, so very good point, Nicholas. So absolutely agree with you. Neil, Thomas, Bernard, anything further you would like to add to what Nicholas just shared? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I was just gonna mention, Neha, that Nicholas mentioned about, we shouldn't have fear about adopting the technology. And I think, this is one thing, if anything, that this period of COVID has done for the human race, is get us used to technology, right? We've all had to get used to so many blinking different systems, like this one we're using now, Zoom, Teams, Skype, WhatsApp, wherever it might be. And even my parents now ask me, are we going to use FaceTime, Zoom, or something else in order to talk? And I think this is the best time for hotels to adopt these technologies, because people are now used to being digitally connected, right? And they're used to going and finding out how to do things and do things directly from the palm of their hand. So I couldn't agree more that, fear is something of the past when it comes to technology, and we tend to find that the majority of people are now adopting these technologies.
Yeah, in fact, without technology, I mean, this time without technology, most of the company will be in trouble, right? So it's a wake-up call actually for our industry. Technically, over the years we can see that the hospitality trade is always lagging in adoption of technology. Okay, because we just think we are selling the beds. In reality, human need technology. So yeah, I think we just have to go ahead with more technology adoption. Yeah.
And one more thing is that I think in the hospitality industry, you have hotels and vacation rental, And vacation rental is like a segment that is much younger, and they are like much like in an easy way using new technology. And if the real hotel, like the hotel from like normal hotel are not like moving in new technology, they're gonna have big trouble with the increase of the vacation rental space. It's mine.
Absolutely, absolutely. So while we were talking, I was actually thinking about, the last pandemic. Like everybody knows, we know 100 years back, the Spanish flu that happened. I was just wondering, in today's times, thanks to technology, we're actually able to do this session online without having to travel, get on a plane, get out of our houses. I don't know how they survived that. I mean, half of the people would be dead just because they can't connect to people or step out of the house. So really, I mean, it's all thanks to technology that we are doing what we are today, and we still have our mental health safe and secure because we are able to connect, talk to people, and still conduct business, earn our livelihoods. So yeah.
Right.
Okay, so with that, now that we have Bernard back, my next question for Bernard. Bernard, do you think automation and AI will replace humans at hotels? I know it's kind of a repetitive question, but I would still want to get your opinion on this specific one.
To me, not really. I don't think whatever technology we have right now, I don't think it can be replaced. In fact, technology can only replace things that humans don't want to do, right? Unless human beings don't improve ourselves, right? Then of course we will be replaced, no matter what's going to happen, right? Yeah. So the root of it is, I don't think human will be replaced as long as we continue to improve in our area of specialty. Yeah. So, but having an AI product or having a chat, I see a lot of chatbot happening in a lot of hotel right now. So I think that is a good move forward, but I don't think it's a replacement of human at the moment. Yep.
Okay,
I
so
totally
very,
agree
very
with you, Bernard. So, sorry, Nera, as you were muted. I
sure,
totally
sure.
agree with you, Bernard, because I think that this is a complement that we need to use technology in order to take out all the bureaucratic and stupid like action and just try to recenter our action around the guest. This is the guest that is the more important here, the guest experience. So try to focus on that and not.
I agree with you. Yeah, I think with AI or any form of technology, one of the principles we have right now is we shouldn't let our efficiency or productivity affect our sales. As a matter of fact, I know we were running a marketplace recently, and then we were selling very well for one of the brand, exceptionally well. However, it's so well, we become a victim of our own success because the customer cannot call fast enough. I mean, or rather, the call center cannot accept the call fast enough to handle service. So if we would have a technology to help them make a booking or a chatbot to help them answer some of the question, things would have been better. Right. So I think I agree with Nicola that we need to have a combination of human and technology put together, so that productivity is not being affected because you have very good sales. Yeah. Yep.
I think that is a great problem to have, Bernard. I'm sure everybody would want to have that problem.
Yeah.
I would just
Lovely.
like to add that
Yes, Thomas.
in most industries, be it hospitality, retail, or anything we're looking at, we have always or lately have had a very strong push to adopt more technology, mostly for the technology's case in itself, not so much focus on the customer experience, not so much focused on the individuals experiencing this technology. So coming from a very long IT background myself, we need to understand that tech should always push forward what you're actually here to do. Is it to custom customers or guests to a nice stay at your location? Then that is what the technology should aim to accomplish first and foremost. And everything else is just bonuses on the way.
Yeah, I couldn't agree
Completely
more.
agree.
I think it comes down, at the end of the day, these two things go hand in hand. It's all about efficiency, right? And it's about making things easier for the property, the team, but also for the guest, right? Why does the guest need to get dressed into their like day clothes at 2 o'clock in the morning if they have a particular request to go down to reception, when they can easily do that from their room using technology, right? So it's about efficiency for the guest, efficiency for the hotel, and being able to make sure that, you know, we're basically moving along with the technology. So these two things have to go hand in hand. And, you know, again, think about this period and what the majority of hotel teams have been told. You know, they've all had to wear face masks, but more than anything, one of the biggest things they've been taught is how to smile with their eyes. Yeah, you can't replace humans, the feeling that you get when you go to a property, but the technology can make them provide a better service, and that's really key.
In fact, Neil, to your point, I think there's a new term that has been coined now in the industry. It's called smize. So it's like smiling with your eyes. And we actually had the opportunity of, like, you know, we were in a webinar, I think a couple of months back, where the lady from Maritime Hotels actually started talking about the smiling with your eyes thing. And then after a few weeks, I saw it appeared in some news publications and stuff. And we were like, wow, this is catching up now. And I suddenly saw a word smize coming up. And I was like, wow, so it's all happening now. Yeah. So before I put out my next question to Thomas, just a quick point for our audience. Everyone, please, you would have a question box on your screens. Make sure any questions that you want to ask this panel today, just put in your questions into the box and we will take all the questions towards the end of the session. So feel free to write in there. We'll make sure we answer all the questions. And coming back to the first round, last question for Thomas. Thomas, with more technological solutions, many replacing human interactions, example like NFC keys, chatbots, etc., what are the dangers or negative effects the hospitality and retail industry might be facing? So we, of course, have been talking about the balance. We've been talking about the need for technology, but then there could be a lot of dangers and negative influences as well. So I would want your thoughts on that, please.
Thank you for the question, Nihat. It was a very good question. And so I would say that we have a large number of different types of customers, different type of guests who are visiting our different locations. We have everything from a 2-star, 3-star, 5-star hotels, and they of course have different requirements, or the guest has different expectations when they arrive to one of these hotels. And there's a lot of focus now to try to limit the human touch and to make things much more automated. And while that is very important and very, you know, good for efficiency, I believe that we have a potential problem coming up on us, especially when it comes to the customer experience side. Because essentially what we have today, I mean, if you go to Tokyo, you try to stay one of those capsule hotels. They are very highly efficient. You pay your ticket in a ticket stub downstairs, you get your ticket to your capsule and you go to sleep and you continue your day tomorrow. And that is a very, what we could call almost like 99% efficiency. It's very rarely would you need any persons to be at the locations. However, how does a Marriott hotel differ from these capsule hotels? Well, essentially, it's not only the interior design, but it also has to be the human touch. And when we are focusing on automating things so much that we are also removing the human touch, it's also where the customer experience will suffer the most, I believe. So we, of course, have to, just like you say, Neha, we need to strike a balance between the efficiency and automation and the human touch in order to deliver the quickest, but also the most impactful customer experience to every guest, no matter whether it's a 3-star, 5-star hotel, in order to get them to come back again. It's very easy to put out marketing to please come to our hotel. We have beautiful pictures, but essentially to actually have them coming back after they've been to to your location is the most difficult part. And so I think, for example, what Neil and Nicolas are doing and our friend Bernard are very important factors in getting the customer coming back. And we need to also to not forget the staff and empower the staff and making sure that the staff have all the information in their hands as the client enters the venues.
Thank you, Thomas. Very good points that you made there. Any opinions, any further thoughts on this from others here?
I'll jump in very quickly.
Please, yes.
Thomas was talking, one of the things that I thought about was, again, that tech hotel that I stayed at a while back. And this was one of the first hotels that did self-check-in, you know, and you had to check yourself in, but it was on a kiosk and you did that there and then. But the difference here was that it was self-check-in, but there were guest experience people around those self-check-in areas still speaking to you, asking you about your journey, why are you here, etc. So while the technology was there in order to kind of help me do the work, the people that were providing the experience were on the other side, no longer looking down at their screen, typing and not looking you in the face, but actually looking to you person to person, finding out about you, why you're here, how did you find out about us, etc., and making your experience different. So it makes my check-in experience more interesting because I'm doing it myself, I'm empowered, but then you have the people actually speaking to you and sounding like they're really interested in you as a guest. And I think, again, that's the key, you know, it's the ability of bringing the two things together and enhancing how people feel when they're at the hotel. And that's really, really important because, you know, everything we're talking about here is experience. And that's what people remember. They don't necessarily remember if there was a chocolate on the pillow, but they remember how they felt when they arrived, during the stay, and then when they left.
Absolutely, Neil. I think very good point. In fact, I'm getting curious as to which hotel was this, because you've really had a good experience there, and I think you should be naming them to promote them as well.
It was the Citizen M chain.
Oh, okay. Citizen M in?
Yeah. This one was in Amsterdam.
Amsterdam.
At the airport. Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah.
wow. And yes, I completely agree. Like, you know, if you have technology, and because, you know, humans, like whenever you're going somewhere, whenever you're visiting, if you have a nice conversation with somebody, or, you know, if there are people who are interacting with you, engaging with you, that is so very important to actually, because you don't know what you might learn or what you might find out new. For example, today we're finding about the Citizen M from you, apart from all the other things. So it's really something that I'm sure I will remember for quite some time, even though I've not had this experience directly myself. But knowing that, you know, somebody had such an experience so many years back when technology was possibly not like so common, that is really something. So yeah. Bernard, you're
This
saying
Citizen
something?
M is just different. Yeah, Citizen M just different. Once you stay with it, you get a good experience, especially the bar. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah.
So that's really some good branding for
Yeah,
them for sure.
but as well nowadays with hotel technology is not just about gimmick, right? I mean, years ago when Citizen M started, when you self check-in, all this become part of a gimmick, which is good, let you in control of the whole check-in experience. But with the pandemic, I think all this self-help technology, whether it's digital menu, whether it's a chatbot replacing the companion in your room. Now this become part of a branding, right? The branding that you are clean, you give option of cleanliness, right? So it become a must now more than anything else going on. So it will speed up the adoption rate of this kind of technology going on. Yes.
Absolutely,
Couldn't agree more.
absolutely, Bernard. Yeah. Lovely. So with that, we come to the end of our first round of questions. We'll move to the next round. And here I would like to start with Bernard. So Bernard, your next question for today is, what, according to you, is the role of conversational commerce in the world of messaging super apps? So I'm moving a little bit from pure automation, and I want to talk a little bit about chatbots and how, you know, they play a big role in what we're discussing. So please go ahead.
Sure. Well, I think the word conversational commerce was coined by Uber years ago, right? So basically combining messenger with a commerce layer, right? I mean, this is been made big by the super app WeChat in China. So in China you don't use website. Everything's on WeChat, WePay. So anything outside China, I don't think there's any form of technology that's really supporting a well mobile tech, right? I mean. Uh, most of the client, we heard a lot in statistics, most people want to book via mobile, but what they really tells you is they want to book via mobile app. Right, but a lot of smaller hotel to mid-sized hotel is so difficult for them to actually develop an app and encourage people to download an app. It's almost impossible. So I think all of us have some form of chat app in our phone, whether it's a WhatsApp, whether it's Messenger, whether it's WeChat, whether it's Line. Depending what nationality you are, you use different chat app, right? So ability to put some commerce layer like what WeChat does in China is absolutely important. So we have launched this years ago, a couple of years ago, and we tested out in the market in Asia using Facebook Messenger with a partnership with them. Yeah, it showed that people are actually adopting it, and the take up rate is pretty good. But for fully take off, I think it still needs some time. But yeah, we're very interested in that part of the business, and I think there's a good future. When we talk about commerce, I like to compare it with unstructured question. I know there's a lot of hotel trying to do chatbot in a very unstructured question, asking what's the weather now in Barcelona, for example. We can ask that in 1001 way. Will we really get a perfect answer? Sometimes you add a lot of frustration. So for me, I think as we move toward answering unstructured question, what is really definite now is we can do more structured commerce using this super app. Okay, and I can see a lot happening in Asia. I'm not sure what's happening in Europe. How is Barcelona? How is Brazil taking on this part of the business? But in Asia, I can see certain territory, especially the Philippines, Singapore is adopting it quite well. Yeah. So over you guys, maybe you have some point to share. Taking on from here.
Anything from you, Nicholas, Neil, Thomas? Because really, Asia, we have seen mobile apps, like Bernard very rightly mentioned. China is all about apps, and the numbers that you see, especially for any kind of mobile bookings, whether it's airlines or hotels or anything for that matter. I mean, it's completely different to the rest of the world. So in fact, in yesterday's session, we were discussing, so Vinicius, in fact, was mentioning that in Americas, I think 93% of the search actually happens in mobile, but the bookings, the conversions are actually not happening there because people still want to go back to their laptops, a desktop, get that comfort of making the payments, making sure they are keying in the right credit card details and stuff, and not making sure there's the site is a secured site and getting that confidence basically. So but with China, it's a completely different ball game. It's like everything is on mobile. The generation is completely different, I think. So
Well,
yeah, and
I think in
similar.
Asia a lot of people having their first device is not computer, is a mobile phone,
It's a
right? Especially in
mobile.
the developing country. For the first device they have,
Absolutely.
it's not a notebook, it's not a computer, it's a mobile. If you go to places developing, say Myanmar, Yangon, so you ask them what internet, they say Facebook, right?
Yes.
So that's what they adopted, right? So I think it's a different ball game over here. Yeah, this part. So it's interesting to look at how that part of the software, I mean that part of the application can take on the new generation, yeah,
Yep.
of traveler.
Yep. I think it's also about affordability of mobiles and plus the internet penetration. The combination of this makes it really, really affordable for the Asian population. Of course, population is another big factor because of which our numbers look big. So yes, the adoption, and it's a bigger market for any company anywhere in the world. So yeah.
I
So
think
sorry,
as
And
I'm
well,
getting
just
one thing
people
that I think, oh, sorry, go on.
and getting people to download apps has always been difficult, at least since 2012 and forward. We need to be focused on what is it in it for the downloader, like for the end user. Why should they want to download an app? Is it just to be sent more advertising? Is it just to make it their life more difficult? Or the opposite? Would they have a much easier time, easier life? Would they know that their needs and yearns are taken care of? If it's the latter, then you have a very good and potential very loyal customer with you.
Yeah, I agree. I was about to say the same about the apps, you know, it's just something that's so difficult now, even myself, you know, it's unlikely that if I'm going to a particular hotel or brand and I know that I'm just going to that one, that I'm going to download the app. Unless it really is going to give me a simple check-in process, then maybe I would do it. But I think, you know, one thing that Bernard mentioned is, you know, the various messaging channels, and this is the key, right? Everybody will use messaging channels for different things. And me, for example, I would never look at communicating with the business through WhatsApp. If I want to communicate through business, I will always do it through Facebook Messenger. I'll look for them on Facebook and I'll do it through there. I don't want them having my WhatsApp, but I'm comfortable with them having my Facebook Messenger. You know, and I think for the hotels as well, we're getting to that point, specifically as we're talking about operations here, we're getting to that point where they have to be mindful about what it is they're communicating and how they communicate, right? And make sure that if they are communicating through those channels, that they're using it, but not abusing it, right? In order to make sure that we can continue to communicate with those guests, provide the guest experience through those channels, but ensuring that we don't end up spamming and then, you know, losing another possible outlet in communicating with those guests.
You made a very good point there, Neil. In fact, I was like, you know, I think there's also a cultural thing here. You mentioned about WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger. So Facebook, like you said, is like a more common form when it comes to business, even LinkedIn for that matter. But in Asia, and I've seen this with my own colleagues and some of the other companies that I have discussed this with, WhatsApp actually is a very common form of, or a platform for businesses or for people to be in touch with, like, you know, your clients, your partners. In fact, a lot of our sales guys are in touch with a lot of our partners and hotels over WhatsApp, because that's like a very quick way and like top of mind recall. You don't really need to check your emails or, you know, be logged in on any of the business channels per se. And in fact, Winnie was also mentioning that the same applies to Brazil, like some of the Latin markets. So I think it all comes down to a little bit of a cultural thing, that how much you would want people to have access to your personal number and be able to, you know, reach out to you any time of the day. So yeah, very, very interesting.
Yeah,
exactly.
but
I think you find as well that specifically.
Go ahead.
Yes,
Sorry.
Neil.
I was going to say, I think you find as well that, you know, with channels like WhatsApp and Facebook these days, it's also highly regulated, right? They specifically in Europe, you have to be very careful about what it is you communicate and what you're allowed to communicate in order for it to actually get through. So, you know, this is the key where it's really, really important to make sure that you communicate in the right method, but that you don't end up trying to send the incorrect messages through that ends up turning into spam. And then that's a channel that you've lost. So it's something that really needs to be managed.
Yep.
But to
Agreed.
me, more, I just think, for example, I mean, nowadays, you know, anything that is urgent, you text. Anything not urgent, you email. You know, so anything that you can wait, you email. Anything that you need now, you got a WhatsApp or Messenger, or whatever, right?
Or just pick up the phone and call.
Or pick up a phone. Yeah.
Do people already do that now?
So you just spell out, I mean, to me, just spell out the importance of those kind of chat channel. I think it can only grow bigger. Yeah.
Absolutely. Lovely. So moving on, I'm conscious of the time. Moving on to my next question, which is for Nicholas here. Nicholas, so everyone, of course, is talking about automation and self check-in. So do you think that, you know, given the current pandemic situation and how things have been for self check-in apps, do you think it would actually become a common practice and process in the hospitality industry once we come out, like post-COVID? Do you think this would be a norm?
So I think that we were discussing about culture, and I think that it's a very important factor in it. I think that it will depend also on the culture of the property or the country to see if they want to automatize all that process and keep like a real like contact with the guest. But yeah, I think it's gonna increase. Like we have seen that in vacation rental. Like it has increased a lot. I mean, in vacation rental also, maybe the challenges are different because you may have like 10 apartments in 10 different locations. So maybe automatizing the access is more important. But In hotel, I think that for one of the same reason, the automatization will come slowly. The cost is very high, but I think the main difficulty would be around getting the right information before giving access. Because if you go into like automatizing and digitalizing the entire check-in process, you need to then get a payment gateway in order to charge the overdue amount overdue, charge the touristic tax, all those actions that are mandatory before giving the access. So the idea is that having like an integration between a PMS and a door locks provider is something that will happen, but there's something that is missing between the two. Like when you have a reservation.com, you can't give the access already. You need to be sure that this is the right person, that they have fulfilled all the compliance step in order to give the access. Like I'm thinking that for security, terrorism, and things like that, there are some laws that will emerge and will appear, because they will need to have a kind of like organization and structure around those new way of accepting guests into a property. I'm thinking about inside Europe, for example, you have the Schengen space, and people, like countries, want to know who is going from a country to another, and this is a way of also for the COVID, in order to track the pandemic expansion and things like that. So I think we are really not at the beginning, because it's here since years and years. But I think that if it accelerates, we're gonna know, like we're gonna see a different, I would say, process and structure and things around that new way of checking in people. Yeah, I mean, this is more or less what I see, but for sure it's going to increase.
Thank you, Nicholas. Thank you. Any thoughts, opinion on what Nicholas just shared? Anybody wants to add anything further?
Yeah, I mean, I think Nicholas is right. It's something that's going to definitely continue. Again, you know, we've adopted all these technologies, and these technologies here to stay, you know, and evolve even more, most likely. I think we've had a lot of queries from hotel groups that have been asking us to be able to integrate to tools similar to that, in order to make sure that the whole flow of the guest journey, you know, becomes more automated and becomes simpler and more efficient. So I think that once guests as well get used to actually using the technology, you know, the demand is going to come higher, because once they go to one hotel where they can check in online, and then another hotel where they have to queue up for 20 minutes, they're going to start demanding this change.
Agree. I think, yeah, I mean, definitely. Okay, so
Yeah.
moving on to my next, sorry. Who was saying?
Yeah, I was explaining that with the merge of new technology. So for example, we in our solution, we have like a biometric match, so we are able to really like compare the person characteristic in our face, so we can see that if that person is the same person that have done the reservation, the booking. So there are so many like solutions that are used in other sector, like if you want to open like a bank account, they have some sort of check-in process also that are very advanced, because it's not the same, I would say, objective or finality. But the idea is that I think that today the hospitality industry need to reinvent always themselves, and check what is going on in other like sector. Like we were talking about airlines, but why don't we talk about medical segment, banking segment, and take the best of what they have in order to build and structure a very good check-in process, or if it's not in check-in process, it can be in-stay process, after-stay process, all that automatization, we need to learn from other. We don't need to reinvent the wheel. I think we need to understand what is going well in other segments and adapt it into our segment in order to match our needs and get to a better guest experience. It will always be around the guest experience and saving time and money around the operation.
I just would like to add that when it comes to biometric facial recognition, there are a couple of, I would say, cultural issues which are pretty important, but also some legal questions that also needs to be sorted. Sorry, I think Bernard is transmitting right now.
Bernard, can I request you to go on mute maybe while you're not speaking?
Yeah, I'm mute already. Yeah, mute. Yep.
And so, for example, there was a research paper that came out last year, which is saying that in China, you have about 80% of the respondents felt unease with facial recognition, and 57% were very afraid that they are being tracked in situations where they should not be. And so I think that when it is a very exciting and very interesting type of technology, it is very important that we, again, make sure that there are no type of, we're creating more problems than that we are solving. So, for example, when we're talking about facial recognition, we have a very strong GDPR regulations around that in Europe. We have fairly strong PDPA regulations in APAC coming out of Singapore. And I think that it's, again, very important that we make sure that we are not putting ourselves in a legal conundrum when employing this type of technology.
Well, I totally agree with you, Thomas. So part of that, I think what we have done with Check-in, we have done like all the online on-site check-in, and we are adapting our flow to all the legal compliance. Now we are like around 20 countries, and we adapt on each country around what could be legal or not legal in that country. It's very hard around GDPR, of course, and all that. But I totally agree with you. Like this is going to be one of the big challenge for automatization. Is be sure that there's a limit not to cross, right? So yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay. So I actually was thinking of adding something, but now I have lost my train of thought, so I'm sorry about that. I was just trying to figure out this background noise, which I think we've managed to cover. So, all right. So what I'll do is I'll move on to my next question now, which is for Thomas. So, Thomas, it's a little longish question, so let me read it out very slowly for you. Hotels, restaurants, luxury brands tend to say they're not in the money business, they are in people business. However, there's a perceived notion that technology is dehumanizing this people business. Chatbots, personalized AdWords, loyalty programs, to name a few. Do you agree with this stereotype? Do you want me
thank
to
you for that excellent. No, I understand the question, okay. And thank you. It's a very good question. So I want to say that I somewhat believe that stereotype. I have seen multiple industries adopting technology, running straight ahead, and then understanding that either they're too soon or more likely they never cared about the end user. So the customer, the guest, are always right, as you say, but it also makes it's much more important that we are always making sure that they feel taken care of and also feel as individualized, that they're just not another number in their CRM system. And I believe that loyalty is, of course, a very important way to move forward in order to perhaps create some sort of a resemblancy of familiarity between a brand and the end user. But then you have the other problem, which is roughly 65% of people hate being bothered by being asked the same question time and time again. So, for example, in a situation where you do your check-in, self-check-in, you've done all the work that the hotel typically does, then unfortunately what may happen later is that the concierge still do not know who you are, and they need to ask you for some kind of identification, be it your email address, your name or room number, or what have you. And this creates a split where you initially thought that you were a very cherished and a loyal platinum holder. Now suddenly you are just another person, and as you say or identify yourself, now suddenly all the benefits come flowing onto you. So what happens now is that emotionally you understand that this individual representing the brand has no idea who you are. But on a rational level, you understand that of course they don't know who I am because they have never met me. And so you have a big clash between the emotional and rational ideas here. And as humans, unfortunately, or fortunately, depending on how we look at it, the emotional typically wins out over the rational 9 times out of 10. And we need to be very careful and very strong as we are approaching new technologies, new ways of identifying individuals, new ways of taking care of people either at the check-in or after they've checked out. How do we make sure that they feel that feeling loved by the brand, and the next time they have any interactions with them, be it via WhatsApp, Facebook Messenger, or emails, that this relationship is still there. So it's not just another generic emails being sent out or another mass mail that, oh, enter this promo code and you get another 15% off. That is not something a gold member would assume being sent to them in honest personal interactions, so to say. So I think
the importance of personalization is what you are focusing on here, right? I mean, in spite of all the chatbots and whatever you might be using, the personalization is very much important, and that is where the human angle comes in, because
exactly so, because in the end, otherwise we just becomes, you know, numbers or rows in Excel sheet. And if that's the case, if I feel that I am only the data I'm providing the brand, then what is it to prevent me to go to another brand? There's the loyalty also, it gets diminished if I don't feel it on an emotional level. So you can go around point chasing, and there's a lot of big communities who does that, and they're sharing tips and help with each other. But I would say they are in the minority when it comes to the revenues these companies are bringing in.
Absolutely. I also think, you know, that's where a lot of boutique hotels and the small, like, you know, budget properties have actually managed to make a niche for themselves because of all the personalized touch, like, you know, a very, what do you say, a homely kind of a stay that they offer guests. And that is something that people really connect with, and they would want to come back for that experience more and more. So, of course, the big brands also do that, but I mean, I see what you're saying with the connect there. Agree, absolutely. Neil, Nicholas, anything you want to add in to what Thomas just shared?
Yeah, I think the emotional piece is obviously key, and you know, I've spoken about it in personal experiences already. The boutiques obviously have an easier way of doing this and controlling this, because the way that, you know, you manage the hotel is very different. But I think again, for me, it's it doesn't mean that technology can't do it, but it means that technology can help you to do it, right? If technology is helping you to take certain monotonous tasks that I think Thomas already said earlier, that there's tasks that people don't want to do, and that's why technology is there, then it helps you to be more emotional with the guest and provide them what it is that they're expecting, or more than they're expecting. And I think, you know, the emotional side for service and loyalty is key. We've been going to the same hotel for 7 years as a family because they made a big fuss of my daughter right from the very start. And as parents, that's what you want, to see your kids really happy, you know. And every year, the first question is about her when we think about booking again, rather than anything else. And it's about that emotional piece, right? And this is a hotel of 300 bedrooms or more, so you know it's difficult to remember everybody that you've got, but they still find a way to do it. And I think it's really, really key because, you know, again, when you're going away, and when a lot of people put so much research into booking a hotel. Probably more research into booking a hotel for 2 nights or 5 nights than spending €1,000 on an iPhone, right? So when they're doing that, you need to make sure that, you know, they feel that emotional connection, so that it's something that they think about and talk about.
Exactly, and I think what is also important, and what you're actually now touching on, is how do we make sure that people feel welcome back to their previous visit. And as you say, you've been back 7 years now, and that is something that a lot of hotels would kill for, to have such loyal customers. And unfortunately, in the hotel hospitality industry, I believe that the layoff rate, or how often you lose your staff, is roughly 73% year over year. And so in order to keep and maintain that type of emotional relationship, not only between the and the staff is actually the ones connecting to you, that is key here. And how do you bridge that gap is a very important fact. And so Neil, I mean, if you received an email as you check in with information about your daughter, that would not be very emotional, would it? So therefore it's so important that people, the staff, are empowered with this type of information, that when you meet them face to face, that you feel that this is a person, this is a representative of the brand that makes me and my family so happy to stay here. So I think we believe that that is key in the emotional and loyalty levels.
Yeah, just I totally agree with you guys, and I think the ultimate is also the cost of acquisition, like the cost of acquisition of customers when they come from an OTA is very high. So if you can get them repeat because you did like everything for them to have like a great stay and so on, like this is the ultimate goal. So the cost of acquisition of repeated customers is almost none. I mean, like they come back because they love it, and they just do a direct reservation. Sometimes they don't even go with OTA. So for you, it's the ultimate goal. But yeah, I totally agree with you guys. If I can go into a property that they know that when I get back, when I come back, they welcome me with my favorite burger and my favorite beer. I mean, like after 10 hours of flight, I would be the most like happy people in the world, you know, like.
Absolutely. In fact, Neil, the point that Thomas made, I completely was thinking about it, about the staff turnover rate at hotels. Like you've been going to the same place 7 years, and exactly the point Thomas made, that, you know, it is the people, right? So is it like the same set of people that you have been meeting, or is it like different people, but they still know who you are as a customer, who your family is, what your likes, dislikes are? I'm like very curious with all your experiences.
Yeah. So the core staff are the same and have been throughout the years, and the people at check-in, the hotel manager, the main people that you kind of go, the hosts at the restaurant, they've been the same staff. And this to me is why, like, the interaction of the technology and the human side is so key, right? Because if you have the right technology that makes your job that much easier, that means that you as a team member at the hotel can actually connect more emotionally to the guests that are coming, right? So it makes your job that much more enjoyable, makes you happy about what you're doing because you have more time to deal with the guests because the technology is doing a lot of the other, and therefore you retain your staff, right? So
And it says a lot
the
about the
emotion is
brand.
on both sides. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's
Absolutely.
exactly what Premind does to bring the individual and the CRM system together, and making sure that we have excellent information handover at all times.
Absolutely. So it's obviously the management, leadership, the brands. I mean, the decision they take with their technology and how they can empower their staff to use that technology and, make the guests feel comfortable. So really some very good examples here today. Lovely. So moving on, I think my next question is for Neil, and I think it's the last question today. Before we move on to the audience questions, we already have a few questions in. So Neil, my question for you now is, we have seen over the past 9 months a rapid adoption of messaging platforms by hotels, which helps them communicate with their guests. So what are some of the operational and service-oriented considerations a hotel or a hotel group should be considering when they are adopting a guest messaging platform? So specific
Great
points that you might,
question.
yeah.
Yeah, great question. So I think the the first thing here is that at ReviewPro, we actually developed a tool over 2.5 years ago that was called the Guest Messaging Hub. And something that Thomas said earlier, which is really key, is, it's great to come out with this technology, but then if it doesn't get deployed correctly at the hotel, it can actually cause a problem, right? So this was a tool that was there to help hoteliers to communicate with their guests pre, during, and post stay across the various messaging channels that we've talked about earlier. Yeah, we had about 1,000 hotels that adopted the technology. But many of the hotels were actually shocked 2.5 years ago by the sheer volume of messages that they received. And they were therefore either very slow in responding, or in some cases taking days to respond. Yeah, we had one example of a hotel that actually told us that they had guests reach out on messaging asking some questions about the property pre-stay. When they actually got to responding to him, his response was, "I'm actually at the hotel already, but thanks anyway." So it was really interesting when you started speaking to some of the hotels. Many of the hotels put the work in that they needed to, created efficiencies in order to make sure that there were people there to respond to the queries, but many hadn't. So then we started to speak to more and more clients, and we identified a trend, which was more and more of the queries that they were receiving were repetitive. And therefore, they were creating templated responses that made it easier for them to get to them. So, as we spoke to more and more clients, this is what enabled us to evolve into our next cycle, which was a product called the Guest Experience Automation. And this is a tool that enables, gives the hotels the ability to communicate with the guests through these messaging chat channels such as WeChat, WhatsApp, Web Messenger, Facebook Messenger, as I mentioned earlier, SMS, etc. But it also provides the ability to deploy a chatbot that has a combination of AI, but also rule-based technology. Yeah, it's a combination of the both. What does that mean? It means that, let's say, for example, a bot may ask you, when do you plan to check in? Yeah, and the user may reply 3 days from now. So with an AI bot, it would understand what date 3 days from now is, right? And similarly, the user might continue that conversation then by replying, what time is breakfast? The bot would understand that the user's now a different intent and ask if they want information regarding the breakfast rather than trying to complete that booking process, right? So that's the difference. An AI bot is enabling to really understand the intent. So you can understand the intent in various ways, and depending on the query, it will either respond to the query immediately, or it should initiate a tree-like flow to obtain missing data. Yeah, so these could be flows as to housekeeping requests, maintenance requests, booking a table, etc. So when the bot then actually gathers this information from the guest, such as their room number, the query that they want, it would then wrap this information up into a case and create an automated case that goes directly to the necessary department. Yeah, so that department then can deal with it. And if it's not dealt with in 15 minutes, 30 minutes, it gets escalated to the next level to make sure that the guest gets the request that they need. These could be simple things like, you know, a guest that's asking for bathroom amenities, or somebody that's complaining about a broken shower in their room. And it was really intriguing because as we were going through this evolution, I suppose, we did some research with some of our clients, and there's two specific examples. One of a chain of 30 hotels that we spoke to, and they told us that from the information that they checked, 63% of the emails or messages that they received were from the same 8 questions. 63% of the volume. Yeah, and then a chain of more than 800 hotels told us that 91% of emails or messages that they received were from the same 18 questions, right? So 91% of all the queries they were receiving from the same 18 questions, right? So this obviously identified, okay, you can improve this efficiency, yeah? And it comes back to a point I made earlier. You think about the times when you're at a hotel, specifically a resort hotel, and you're in a queue to check out, and think then how much of that queue is actually really just to check out. Not a big percentage. Yeah, a lot of it is for silly little questions that people can find on the hotel site, from their room, from the beach chair, or from the swimming pool. You know, they can find that information themselves. And then also with this technology, we actually provided the opportunity to do outbound messaging, as long as it's done correctly, through, for example, examples of sending out an in-stay survey through WhatsApp, through SMS Messenger. Ask people how their stay is. Really short survey. Is everything okay? The conversion by sending it through a messaging channel like that becomes so much higher. Yeah. Or when your guest is about to arrive, sending them a message to say, hey, just so that you know, your room is already ready. So if you want to come to the hotel now, it's ready. You can do your check-in. You know, so looking at the messaging channels, the messaging is key, and we've spoken about it earlier and how people are adopting these various messaging channels and are likely to use those more than an app. But then it's really important that you have these efficiencies in the background of AI technology that enables you to be able to make sure that those queries that can be easily answered, multilingual, across multiple languages, then you know you have the ability for your team just to focus on those people that really need a great check-in or really need a good skill set to help with a specific query that a guest has.
Two very good points, Neil, that I draw out of what you have shared just now. So one, of course, the point where you say that when you are either checking in or check out, the queue that is there, and you know, people standing there for so many silly questions. I mean, I've faced that myself so many times, and it becomes so irritating, especially after you've had a long flight and you want to just get to a room, get some sleep. So yes, absolutely agree on that point, how that can be, like, you know, made more efficient, and all of that information can so easily be made available to the customer, you know, through different, whether it's through their mobile or through in-room technologies and stuff. And a second very key point that I've been thinking while you were talking about the chatbots and how AI has been helping, like, you know, making intelligent conversation with guests. You know, a lot of hotels, a lot of people think that when we as technology providers come and talk about what we provide, or you know, about any kind of technology, they always think that we are here to sell something, sell whatever solutions we have. But we also want to, I mean, the point I'm trying to make here is, see, we might be selling technology, but then there are two sides to it. One, of course, is to make the life easier for hotels. It's like adding more efficiency to their day-to-day process so that they can spend more time with their guests. And second, a lot of people have this fear that with technology, you know, you want us to reduce our staff, or you don't want to have as many employees. So that, I think, is not true, because end of the day, you need these people to be able to, you know, utilize these technologies. So the moment you talk about chatbots, there would still people be needed to action whatever the guest is saying. So whether it's a broken shower or they want more toiletries, whichever way, somebody needs to be monitoring those chats and, you know, actioning whatever requests are coming in. So the importance of the employees or the human, resources are still very, very much there. And I think it's across industries that technology in no way is reducing the importance of human
No,
resources. So that's something that a lot of
absolutely.
people confuse with. And this is something that we as technology providers need to keep telling people that no, we are not replacing humans. We are not trying to add costs to you. It is just an investment to make your daily operations more and more efficient.
Absolutely.
Great. So further thoughts on what Neil and I just shared? Nicholas, Thomas, anything you would like to add before we move on to our audience questions?
I mean, eventually, more and more staff will be replaced by automation. When you have, like Neil mentions, 91% of questions pertains to the same 18 ones, and you have a chatbot taking care of that, then you will have fewer employees in your organization. And we also have to remember that, I mean, these hospitality companies, they are all profit driven. They want to make money, and one of their largest costs are, of course, the staff. And so I definitely understand why and how they want to invest in technology in order to offset the cost of staff. But while doing so, we always need to be pushing hard for the customer experience. It always has to remain the focus, because otherwise what happens is that they will effectivize themselves out of business. When people, next time, Neil, for example, you return to your hotel, now half the staff is gone, no one remembers nothing about your daughter. And so then again, so you'd be like, so what's the point of going back here? It's like we have to take a detour, or yeah, there's a better hotel with a better price or nicer amenities closer to our fixed location. So we need to make sure that in order for us to have happy customers, to have happy guests, we need to always remember that the person, the emotional relationship always have to be the focus.
Absolutely, absolutely, Thomas. Completely agree. Okay, so with this, I think I'll move on to some of the questions that we have received from our audience members. Let me start with the first one. I'm conscious we have 10 minutes to cover the questions. So any of you who want to pick up the questions, I'll just read them out for you. So we have a question here from Roy Jose Virtusio. And he says, here in my country, technology is picking up, but the problem is the internet connection. Now, I'm not sure which country Roy is from, but given that we have a lot of tech companies here and we're talking about technology, is there anything that people can do without internet today? Thoughts, please, guys.
I think more and more companies are trying to move to low bandwidth solutions. I see that everywhere. When it comes to AI chatbot, for example, that is a very low bandwidth solution. When it comes to the solution that we employ is also extremely low bandwidth. So I believe that in order to be a global organization and deliver a global solution, we should try to keep that in mind as well. And that is, for example, it's going to be very costly and inefficient to send biometric data across the world to some big data center. It's going to crunch the data and send it back. If you're talking about a hotel in Myanmar, for example, or another hotel in the rural parts of Thailand, Vietnam. And so that is definitely something that should be a part of the strategy.
Yeah, I think it's also speaking to the technology provider and understanding where they have their infrastructure based and what they do in order to be able to make that better, right? We had a time where we had issues out in Asia, and we had to kind of redistribute our technology in order to make sure that for those particular countries where it was a bit more challenging, that we were able to bring that technology there with less effort and less bandwidth. So I think it's about doing the correct analysis and making sure that the providers that you're looking to work with also, cater for what it is that you're looking for.
Very good point, both of you. Yeah, completely agree. So low bandwidth and of course the infrastructure where the partner's infrastructure is based out of. So I think that answers your question, Roy. The next question is from Polumi Datta. I think we've already touched upon this, so I'll still read out the question. What happens to human touch and jobs with the rise of AI and automation? So I think we've already to an extent covered that. So anybody, if you want to add anything further, or else we can move to the next one. No? Okay.
Well, I think, as I mentioned before, I do think that there will be some job loss, of course. I mean, I try not to be a Luddite. I do embrace technology, and I think that as we move forward, tech will be a very central point in everything we do. It's very difficult to remove a human history from technology, even. So what I believe is while we are the hotels or the hospitality industry will always be making sure to making themselves more efficient. They have shareholders that they want to see profits. We need to make sure that the staff who are left are even much more efficient, much more empowered in order to deal with the needs and wants and yearnings by the end user.
Yeah, I have an additional point to add, which I think is really important as well, is that it's possible that you won't need as many people. It's not going to take out, as we talked about earlier, the whole staff. However, bear in mind that while it might take out manual jobs at the property, it creates more jobs in hospitality technology. And many of these hospitality technology companies that have become good are because it's people like ourselves that have been on the cold surface at the hotel, right, that have provided service, understood the challenges, and then brought this back into technology in order to say, okay, there's things that we can do here in order to make this more efficient, right? I myself went from being a receptionist to a GM before I came into technology. So, when I go to speak to customers, I'm really passionate about what I speak about because I know what they're feeling. So there's a lot of opportunity here. It's not about only losing them in the hotels, but it's also creating opportunities for people in a total different industry.
Very, very good point, Neil. I mean, very logical, I think. Yeah. Nicholas.
Yeah, I totally agree with you because all those tech solutions need to be designed by people that understand very well. Also, I would add that it will definitely maybe reduce some job, but also will create more. We have seen in the past few years, in some company, like the chief happiness officer creation, like 20 years ago. We haven't seen that in any company. So I think that the changes are always also creating a new post and new I would say jobs. So yeah, I totally agree with you, Neil and Thomas, about that. But yeah, we are not, this is not our aim. The first aim is not to reduce the job, but I think that yeah, it will definitely happen. But this is also why we need to be careful on how we build our solution.
Absolutely. In fact, personally at EDOVMAX, I've seen this over the years that I've been here. We were actually founded by two gentlemen, one of him being a revenue manager at hotels and the other one being a software entrepreneur, so Roel Ghosh and Andrew Morsi. So, it's like a unique combination where one comes with his tech expertise and the other one really knows all the pain points of a hotelier. And when you combine the expertise of these two, you actually come up with solutions that could be really, really useful for hotels for their day. And that's, I think, one of the reasons how and why Rate Tiger picked up initially when we started, coming up with solutions like a channel manager, rate shopper, all being pioneers in the industry. So very, very good point, Neil, when you say that, so it's like a hotel's loss is technology companies gain, literally, and vice versa, I think, because I see a lot of movement happening from tech companies into hotels as well. So I've seen some of my colleagues actually going into joining hotels in the revenue department because they know how the tech works. So they really are able to, like, optimize how they're selling rooms or updating ARIs, and they work with channels, and so it's like a very good balance there. So
Absolutely.
lovely. All right, so the next question here is, once the vaccine is discovered for the pandemic, which are the innovative solutions hotels would still continue to use? So I'll repeat the question. Once the vaccine is discovered for the pandemic, which are the innovative solutions that the hotels would still continue to use? So I'm understanding that something that has come into more use now is especially the contactless technologies and the increase in chatbots and stuff like that. So I think the person following me really wants to ask whether which all solutions would really continue, hotels continue to use. Any thoughts from you guys here?
I think they will still use like all the PMS and channel manager and e-reputation manager and all the tools that already are in. I think we can see the emergence of new solution coming in about all that automatization of operation and things like that. Especially, for example, one is crossing my mind is we have seen like for the self check-in, like there's so many provider of door locks provider, for example, that is making like very hard for like PMSs to connect, and we are changing a little bit on our side our way of thinking, and we are becoming a kind of channel manager of door locks provider. That means that we would be the one connected to that 1,000 door locks provider in the future by giving that verification and ID validation, data capture, and so on. So I think that post-COVID, a lot of IT or like hospitality provider are also rethinking how they want to move forward and see some new opportunities around. So that's just an example, but there's a lot of other like startups that before the COVID they were very focusing on something, and they really like changed their way of working during the COVID. So I think it was also an opportunity for some of us in that sense.
I think it's
Definitely.
also important to bear in mind that the majority of the technology that's been adopted during this last 9 months, many of the hoteliers have been looking to adopt maybe for the past 3 years, but they've never found the right time, or they've never been pushed down that route, and all of a sudden there's this need to adopt it. And I think you'll just find that people will continue to adopt it. There's things like, for example, the keyless technology for your room. This was something that 4 years ago would have been a huge operation for you to change in your property, whereas technology has advanced so quickly over the past 4 years that now it's not so difficult for you to make that change, and it makes sense to do it because, again, it becomes more efficient and easier for the guest. So I think that a lot of what we've seen is just kind of been that little kick that we've needed in the industry to push people into the technology and actually, implement things that probably should have been implemented years ago, but we've just been so much slower because so many of our operations are 365, and 24/7. So it becomes really difficult in order to find the right time to do it. Whereas for many people, it's like, okay, now we have time to think, be strategic, and implement.
And as you say, necessity is the mother of invention. And I believe that now with this pandemic, which has struck globally, I don't believe that there's a way going back from this when it's over.
Lovely. Absolutely. And to your point, Neil, I think, we were in fact talking yesterday on the session about the keyless technology and how, it is, hotels look upon it as a huge investment because, you know, there might be hotels that have recently changed, you know, their locks or stuff like that, and there are new hotels that have not really thought about keyless doors, but you know, it seems like a huge investment to them. And there are apparently a couple of companies that provide like chip-based lock and lock open options. So that's like very, very cost effective. You just need to put that chip in the door, and you know, you can, it's keyless basically. You don't really need to change your locks, so to say. So that was really
Exactly.
something new that
Yeah.
I've learned. So a lot of revolutionary stuff actually happening in the industry, and we'll definitely see a lot of innovation in hotels going forward. I'm conscious we are top of the time. I'll just take one final question because I really would want to talk about this. How do you think robotics in hospitality will impact guests? I think we've been talking about automation, but we have not touched upon the subject of robotics so far. So any thoughts, any quick last thoughts on robotics? Because I know Japan, for example, has been doing a lot of trials with robos and you know, personalized what do you say, butlers and stuff like that. So any thoughts, any experiences there?
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
think
it's a very exciting premise. The technology looks super fun, and the demos I've seen from different trade fairs are all super exciting, and they're cute robots. And but I believe that eventually, yes, why not? And especially in these more hotels that are more focused on bringing in new technology and trying it out, I'm sure that they will employ one or two of these just to see the feedback.
Yeah, from my point of view, I think it's also very cultural. There are some countries that will move much faster on that from other, but we need to keep in mind that I mean, I'm 40 years old. When I talk to my brother that is like 10 years younger than me, like he's already knowing all the new app, new software, and I feel very old when I talk to him. So, and he's only 10 years like younger than me. So I think that we always need to keep in mind that everything that we are putting now in the industry or we are developing now will be also for the use of people that are much younger than us. And so we need to keep that in mind that we really need to always like I would say surf on innovation and research and development and things like that in order to really always have like some be on the top of the technology, right? So that's something I want to raise because I'm not old, but I already feel old when I talk to people that are like 10 or 20 years or younger than me.
Yeah, I
The
think
technology has a way of making us feel older. Yes,
exactly.
Neil, sorry.
I think so. You already heard me talk about earlier how super excited I was about being able to control my room with a tablet. Imagine my reaction when I get room service delivered by a robot. But I think you know the key thing is that so we worked with an actual provider out of the States that actually does this technology, and they requested reviews from our system on the hotels where they'd actually deployed this technology in order to understand the impact on the guest experience. And it was actually amazing. You know, they used the review data because remember that reviews is top of mind content. Yeah, it's not, you're not asking questions specific. It's just somebody going online and saying, my stay was this, right? So they literally looked at the reviews from these hotels where they deployed the bots, and they were actually able to kind of provide a business case that was like, look how your guest experience has improved over this amount of time because it's something new, right? It's something that people are like, oh my God, there was a robot and it came and it delivered my housekeeping items or my room service items. The thing is that everything is an evolution, right? And when it's new, it's really cool. Once it becomes something that you see regularly, and if it starts to break the experience, that's something we have to be careful about. So it's one of those technologies that you need to kind of be able to deploy intelligently and make sure that it's still something really cool that the guest experiences rather than something that can hinder the experience as time goes on and it becomes more of a norm.
Absolutely. Completely agree with what you just shared, Neil. Absolutely. So I think with this, we'll wrap up this session. We have a few more questions, but I'm very conscious of the time, and I've kept you guys long enough here, as well as the audience. So let me start by thanking all of you for the lovely session today. It was really, really useful, very knowledgeable, at least for me, myself. I'm sure the audience found that too. I hope you found it interesting and engaging. And before we go, I would like to thank all our sponsors, the supporting companies, starting with HS Latam, who are the main organizers of the event, Winnie, who's the brainchild, who's unfortunately not here today, Librotech, My Hotel, Ask Suite, our education partner, eHotelier, and of course, Max, one of the co-sponsors in this session. Uh, I'll give you all 1 minute to say your thank yous and goodbyes, and then we'll just wrap up. So starting with Thomas.
So again, thank you so much for this opportunity. It was great meeting you. I'm very sad that Bernard disappeared during this session, but this is unfortunately something that us techies have to solve over time. Until next time, I'm sure. Great talking and listening to both Neil and Nicholas, and you, Neha, excellent moderator for today.
Thank you so very much. Thank you. I think Neil wanted it to be a Barcelona only panel, so he just quickly disappeared. So Neil, over to you.
Yeah, so Neha, thank you to you. I think you've run the session amazingly. And thank you to Max, thank you to Vinicius and HS Latam. I think it's been really good, and for everybody that's invested the time into it, and for the great conversation with Thomas, Bernard, and Nicholas. So thank you, guys.
Thank you so very much. It was equally a pleasure to have you here. We really enjoyed all your experiences. I'll remember Citizen Amsterdam for quite some time. Thank you for that. Nicholas, over to you.
What else to add? Thank you so much, Neha, for that good time. Thomas, Neil, and Bernard, was very nice to share some insight together. I think we all need to keep in mind that we're all in the same boat. We are all building a solution for the same target. So that's very very interesting to share those moments with you guys. I would love to have more like physical like shows, so we can really meet together and so on. But at least we can have that technology that work for some. For Bernard, a little bit less today, but it was very, very good time. So thank you very much, guys.
Thank you so very much, Nicholas. It was really a pleasure having all of you, Bernard included. Unfortunately, I could not say my goodbyes to him. I'll reach out to him separately. And we hope to make this session physical next year, possibly. I do not know, but I know that Vinicius is planning to take it offline and, like, you know, have proper physical events so we can all get to meet and greet and actually know each other better. And until then, until we are in the current state or scenario, until this pandemic is resolved, we are all here. Please note that we'll have a LATAM version of Travel Tech in October, which is 19th of October, week of 19th October, and another edition for Europe, Middle East, and North Africa, which is starting 23rd of November. So we'll be there and we'll share more information on those sessions as well. We look forward to having all of you there. And thank you once again so much for your precious time, your really expert inputs on the topic today. And I wish you a great day ahead. Thank you so very much.
Thank you, likewise.
And thank you to all the audience who joined in today. We'll be sharing the video on the LinkedIn channels and different social media channels. So you'll see that there. Thank you. Have a good day, everyone.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Take care.